Hey YouTube, Matt here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's art-related video, I am going to devote the entire session to drawing cylinders and constructing everyday objects out of them. Now, I know I've drawn a lot of everyday objects in my prior videos. I really want to drive home the point of how you can use ellipses and straight lines to build a wide range of objects. And in the next few videos going forwards, I'm going to take a singular prism and build objects out of each of those so you can see what can be done. This is really great practice no matter how skilled your level. And I'm going to apply perspective for the most part in this session so you get a strong understanding of how these shapes are actually constructed accurately if you're drawing them within the framework of a drawing you make or just doing a study. So let's jump into this. And just to reiterate, I'm using an F pencil. It's my preferred type. It doesn't smudge as easily as HB. It's one notch harder a gradient than HB, so it comes off a little bit lighter on the page and you don't have to erase it as often. So that's multiple reasons why F is a preferred pencil choice for me. You can use any pencil gradient you choose. And I'm using a 70-pound sheet of paper. This is drawing / sketching paper. It's cheaper than Bristol and a little bit easier to erase without causing damage. I mean, you can press into it and cause damage with your pencil, but it's cheap paper and it's excellent for practicing on. So I'll make a video on paper types to use in another video. But for now, let's jump into this. So, and also if you're a beginner watching this, if this is your first video, I absolutely welcome you to the channel. And I highly encourage you to follow along. You'll get a lot out of these practice techniques and you'll really develop an eye for drawing, creating the illusion of three-dimensionality with whatever we're drawing today. So mark off the halfway point on your page. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just trying to get a straight line here. And then at the other end, draw two parallel lines that are perpendicular to that first line we drew. They don't have to be perfect again, as close as possible. So we're going to mark this initial line we drew as our horizon line. Just put an HL there. All right. Now, I drew this. This is going to be our guide for constructing today's cylinders. So let me start here with a circle. A circle is a 2D shape. And when you tilt a circle on its axis, let's say the X and Y. Let's say we tilt it on the X axis. When we tilt it up 90 degrees, it's going to be a straight line. So imagine this line right here is your tilted circle at 90 degrees from this angle. Now, as you start to tilt it slowly one way and the other way, you're going to start to build an ellipse. It's going to be a very narrow ellipse starting, and then it's going to gradually widen as you move further away from the horizon line. It's going to widen until it eventually becomes a full-fledged circle again. This is going to be somewhere off the page up here because I've drawn it so gradually. And the same thing the other way. Very narrow ellipse. This is also great warm-up practice for drawing ellipses. They're not too easy to draw unless you're seasoned at doing this. It does take some control with the pencil, of course, as any artistic technique does. And again, they're going to get wider and wider. These lines, they're not perfectly parallel, but that's okay because we are just trying to use this as a reference point, a guide. Now, here's the thing. When your object moves, when your cylinder, so we got cylinders here, we're going to build cylinders here. If your horizon line is below the cylinder, if the cylinder is in the air and the horizon line is below that object in the air, you're going to see the bottom face of that cylinder. So here I'm just going to, I've chosen this ellipse, and I'm going to show you that. So imagine this is a cylinder. This is like a can that we've picked up and moved up into the air above the horizon line. We're going to see the bottom face of it. Let's draw a center line here to mark off. So you're going to see this bottom face. And if your horizon line is above your cylindrical object, you're going to see the top face. So this is very important to keep in mind when you're constructing your cylinders and your objects made of cylinders. Okay, so, and I'll erase these construction lines just so you can see how this happens, how it looks. And for those of you that are new to drawing, your horizon line is exactly that. Imagine this is the sky and this is land. The horizon line is where sky meets land. The perspective applies to everything we look at using our eyes. If you go outside, or no matter your elevation, if you're at the top of a rooftop of a building, in the distance, you're going to see where the sky meets land. That's the horizon line. And if you're standing on the top of a building, you're going to see the tops of shorter buildings, just like this. You're going to see, I mean, this could be a condominium building or an apartment building. And if you're at a higher elevation, you're going to see the top faces of those buildings. All right, and imagine if you're standing on the ground and, I mean, an object is floating. Let's say this is a drone. It's got propellers and it's lifting off. This drone looks like a cylinder and it's lifting off the ground. You're going to see the bottom. You're going to see underneath because it's above the horizon line. You're on the ground. You can see the horizon line looking straight ahead, but the object is above you. You're going to see underneath it. So I hope that this clarifies perspective and the way cylinders work within the framework of perspective. All right, so we've got that. And what's good about this is we can use this as, I'm gonna redraw these cylinders here because it's gonna help when we carry over to the rest of the page here, having this as a guide. Now, the better you get at drawing, the more practice you have, you'll be able to draw cylinders and you'll know if they look right just because you've attuned your mind's eye to seeing, and what you're going to start to know what just looks right by looking at it. But that comes with a lot of practice. So for now, we're still going to apply, let's draw a vanishing point here. We'll mark off some vanishing points along the page, along the horizon line on the page, so that we can build from them. All right. Now, if you, okay, I'm going to draw a box and I'm going to build a cylinder inside this box. And it would be a square-based prism. It's not a cube. It's a rectangular prism that has 4 equal sides here. I'm going to mark off the center. And now, if you draw an ellipse within the boundary of this box we've made, take that down. So the box becomes a guide. Now I'm showing you, how to build a cylinder. Now we can get rid of these construction lines here. So you can see. Now this cylinder has been perfectly constructed within the framework of perspective using a vanishing point on the horizon line, and it's below the horizon line, so we're going to see this top face. We can get rid of all these construction lines here. So there's a perfect cylinder, accurately constructed using perspective. And because we marked off where we wanted the top face to be, you would see exactly this much of the top face if you were this far away from the horizon line. Now, you can use artist discretion when you're creating a drawing and you're not using perspective. The reason you'd want to do that is because you want to save time, really. And you're confident enough in your ability to simply draw. You can get away with a lot of discretion in art, making decisions on a whim. As long as it looks right, in art, it is right. If it looks right, it is right. And again, see, it might not be so narrow a face, an ellipse here, but it doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too wrong. Now, these are not completely accurate because I didn't use a vanishing point, but you could You want to do that beforehand, of course, but you'd build boxes before doing this. I did this for the sake of saving some time here. And then, of course, you know, if you draw, let's say you're far away from the horizon line, like hypothetically far away, you would see, of course, more of the, and I've actually assumed there's a vanishing point down here, which there would be. And these edges are going to converge down because we're looking like, it's almost like we're standing above this cylinder here. So in fact, sorry, the horizon line is down here. We're looking above it here. Sorry, no, wow. I apologize, that's incorrect. Yeah, no, that's, yeah, we would see. These lines would converge in. These lines would converge in towards each other. Yeah, okay. It gets tricky. Mind that, it does get kind of tricky thinking about this because, you know, when I'm making art these days, I'm not following these very strict and rigid parameters, but nobody complains because the cylinders look correct. Now, if you're drawing something like a cityscape, you're going to want to situate everything exactly accurately. But if you're drawing something like a tree, for example, so this is a great example. Trees, you know, they're not straight bars. They're, you know, kind of erratic shapes. You know, the limbs of the tree, the tree trunk, you could say. Let's say it's planted down here on the ground. So again, you're going to see it these ellipses get broader. Okay. Take away some of these construction lines here so you can see how it's built. You can see how this guide that we created over here translates to the tree and how you would see. So again, this is eye level, trees planted below eye level, and you're looking up at the way the limbs might come off the tree, and whichever way they do. You're also going to apply, you know, these are going to be cylindrical too. If they're pulling away from you, the cylinders are going to become broader further this way. Straight lines, and then so you can kind of see that. You can see, and when you're adding shadows to the tree, you're going to follow the angle of the face of the cylinder. So you can start to see how it comes together, the illusion of this tree situated in 3D space, and the way the light is going to hit it, because it's going to curve at the angle of the curvature of the cylindrical shape that it's basically built out of. A tree is a cylinder, just in a very awkward kind of structure. It's got an awkward form because of the way it grows organically. Okay, so let's draw some more objects. I mean, we can turn, I'm just gonna erase this here. We can turn this down here. This could be a cake. Draw another cylinder here as a cake layer. And then, I mean, with these guidelines already here, you can, I mean, draw another cylinder here. You can mark off perfectly positioned candles. And each of the candles is a cylinder too. I mean, you could draw, all of these lines are guidelines for constructing objects perfectly and as three-dimensional objects on a 2D plane. I mean, you can even do, now I'm drawing this off of our guideline here, the perspective guideline, but draw vertical ellipses, mark the center line, center point for each of these. And you could turn this into a wheel quite easily. See, because wheels are vertically situated on cars, they're not cylinders in the shape of cans flat on their face. And of course you can add the, the textural effects on the wheel. You can add some, and again, you're going to, for each of these, the way that the texture follows the shape and the curvature of the tire. I mean, we're turning this into a tire. You'd still construct each of these ellipses so that everything is placed nice and accurately. And again, you can do that without having to apply all the rules. But when you do apply all the rules and use rulers, everything just comes out that much cleaner, nicer, and sharper. Okay, now I just want to draw some objects here. Let's say, and again, it's interesting because most of the time you're looking down at cylinders, unless it's like a, what could we say, a giant, like a water tower or something. If you're on the rooftop of a building, maybe you might see, the top of that. You might see the top of that tower. And then horizon lines here, you're looking at it. The top starts to curve away because it's up in the air, and maybe the bottom starts to curve this way because it's lower than the horizon line. Let's see what else we can draw. Just objects out of cylinders, just practicing. You can turn this into a bullet shell, a casing. And another important note to make is when you're drawing something you're unfamiliar with, use reference. Use the internet as a guide to see what an object looks like. And the more you study these objects, you're going to understand how and why they're constructed the way they are. And all these little details are going to help you to produce very plausible looking objects on the page. The idea, remember, the ultimate idea of drawing is to create the illusion of a 3D object on a two-dimensional surface. Among other amazing aspects of drawing and art, this should be your primary goal. You want that illusion to come off plausible and convincing. Let's see, we can do, let's draw over here. Let's do a bottle. Mark off the center line here. And again, the ellipses, now I'm just going to draw these ellipses as they expand and get broader and broader. They can be different sizes too. Maybe we'll do a vase. We'll do a vase just because we can get really kind of creative here. So, I mean, you can start to curve in and work out to create some kind of cool looking vase. And, you might see, get rid of some of these construction lines, and you can see how, and if it's made of glass, of course, you're going to see through it. So you're going to see the base through the glass bottle. Might have some textural lines here, some shadow. I'll save shadow for another video because that's a whole other domain of art that is highly essential in creating the illusion that, see, I'm looking at this water tower and I didn't put any textural lines, or, they're usually made of wood, sections of wood. And then, you'll have like a metal strip that holds the wood in place. Just things like that really help make the object look believable on the page. And you apply some shadows and leave some areas unshadowed where the light is hitting it. And then you start to really come up with, an object that looks like it's something you'd see every day. And again, the bottle, you might be shadowed here on the inside. This would probably be shadowed too. Okay, let's draw something else. Let's see. You know, simple glass. Or a cup. Let's do another vertically situated cylinder so you can get an idea of something like a toilet paper roll. It's a good way to demonstrate here because you're going to have the paper, the sheet of paper coming off. There's the roll. You know, it might be sitting on the bar. Which is yet another cylinder that cuts right through. So again, you draw right through it. Drawing through is excellent practice. I encourage you to draw through from here on out. When you're making anything in pencil, always draw right through so that you can get an accurate, just these lines, it needs to go through anyways. So at this point, this is exactly where this line would come through. So drawing through is going to help you draw the most accurate representation possible. And you can see, and under here there would be shadow from the paper that's over top of the rest of the roll here. All these little details, you know, if you study this in real life, you're going to see where the shadows are, the way the paper rolls and folds out. You know, the more detail you add and the cleaner it is, the more it's going to look like what you're actually trying to draw. Now the light might be hitting it right here, so it's going to be, you're going to have some shadow there, a bit of shadow down there, a little bit extreme. And then this part might be shadowed here. We don't need this line. Might be shadowed on this side if the light is coming from over here somewhere, hitting it on its face here. Okay, so basic, simple, effective. Let's draw a couple more objects to fill this page out a bit more. Let's see, what else is made of a cylinder? There are so many things made of cylinders, and of course now I'm drawing somewhat of a blank, but you know, just keep practicing drawing them and look around your space, and you'll see things that are cylinders. I mean, I see the base of a fan, my fan here. I'm drawing right through this other cylinder I did, just because it's the neck is narrower. And then of course you've got, you know, the motor section of the fan. Getting a little bit crazy here now. I'm just trying to see the way it, you know, the fan itself is just a big, the arm. It's getting a little bit chaotic here. But you can see, as I'm trying to show here, the face of the fan is also a cylinder. It's more like a donut, actually. And again, a donut is a cylinder with its edges, you know, they're curved. I won't use that one. Let's do a separate one here. See, and then you've got curving out. It's kind of like the cheese wheel that I drew in the other video I made. That opening might be a little bit wider there. You know. Kind of like a donut. Now the best thing to do to draw a donut is study an actual donut. Buy a donut and study what it looks like so you can throw some, you know, topping on it and make it look like it's something someone would want to eat. You can see how just adding this slight bit of textural detail starts to really make it look like, you know, add some sprinkles. Now it's looking more like a donut here. Okay, this fan is kind of a disaster up here, but we've got an eraser, so let's just clean this area up. And so I was trying to show that, you know, the fan face is, it's essentially a donut too. And the fan is, the blades are inside of the, and of course you'd mark off that, you'd center everything so you get accurate placement of the fan blades. And you always want to mark off the center of every prism you draw, and then carve out the object from that prism after you've marked off those center markings. It's always good practice to mark off the center. Let's draw a couple more cylinders here. I'm looking at my pencil sharpener. I'll show it to you, my pencil sharpener. This basic pencil sharpener with a case so you don't get messy with it. But you can see, if you look straight on, if you look straight at it, it's almost a rectangle looking straight at it, unless you're seeing some of the elliptical faces. When I tilt it, you can see this side and this side. So if the cylinder is, if my sharpener is above the horizon line, I'm going to see, as I noted initially on, you're going to see the bottom of it, and you're not going to see the top at all. And then if I bring it down, horizon line is now, the horizon line is now above it. You're going to start to see the top. We can turn this one into my sharpener here, so it's not as long. You can see that, and I'll mark off the center. The center's got the hole for your pencil, and then along this edge here, you've got these two other, they're a little bit closer. And then the lid, draw another cylinder for the lid. So it's, you know, there's a little bit of, there's a grip here so you can turn it easily. You know, you're gonna wanna include that. Again, mark that off to get those nice straight lines. And then you can see this very quick, very rudimentary depiction, but you can see how it's constructed, adhering to the rules of perspective, because I'm sitting at my desk and I'm looking forwards. My horizon line is, it's over here somewhere. It's that way. It's that way. And I've got the cylinder tilted and it's below the horizon line. It's below my eye level. So you're going to see this top side of it. Okay. I hope this isn't too confusing. I know it's a lot to take in, especially if you're new to this, but it's all very important, it's useful, and you will get better the more you practice. I mean, you can draw, let's draw a little wine glass here. So we're going to see the bottom of the glass that sits on the table. I mean, it's like drawing a bowl, basically, with a base. And that's going to come up, and you're not going to see that. You're going to see the base like that. That's flat. Same thing, I mean a bowl, same thing. Mark it off. A bowl is basically a sphere that's had its top section removed. Same deal. We're going to see into it if it's below the horizon line, and we're going to see the bottom face if it's above. That's it. It's that simple. It's that simple, and it isn't. I understand it can get a little bit tricky, but you got to just keep practicing and use your exercises that you've put together today as a reference point, as a guide. So actually, I drew this fan off of, outside of the parameters of the horizon line we did here. But I want to fit in one more object here. And don't hesitate to erase as much as you need to. And I mean, with practice, you don't even have to erase. We're not trying to draw anything finished here. It's all just practice, and we're just getting a feel for how to do these exercises. So you don't have to worry about making any errors or, you know, ruining your page. It's not going to be ruined. It's all just practice. Every line you mark down is going to help you get better. It's going to help you get stronger. And that's the idea. You want to get better at your skill, or you want to learn a new skill. Learning how to draw takes a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of practice. Let's see. You could turn this into maybe a jar. You have the, or actually, this looks more like a pill bottle as I look at it and start to see it coming through. You can see the lid on top here. And there's underneath, you're going to see the bottom face of this plastic bottle. It's crude, but it is representative of what we're trying to draw. It looks somewhat like what I'm intending to draw. I'm doing it very quickly, just for the sake of showing you how all of this comes together. You know, you might have the label. The label itself is also going to follow the rules of perspective. It's ellipsis following the curvature of the bottle on its tilt. Quite straightforward. All right, friends, I hope you got something out of this video. I hope you enjoyed this session. I was trying to drive home the significance of cylinders and building them on a 2D plane to represent 3D objects. If you enjoyed this video, like it if you like it, and please consider subscribing. And there will be plenty more videos coming up. I've got plans for a lot of videos with other types of prisms, and I want to share my knowledge with that with you. So stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.